Hello everybody and welcome to ZSR, where we have the Link to the Past No Major Glitches League 2022. We have Light World Round 2, Daaanty versus Trinexx. Our commentators for this will be Clearmouse and Yurak. I hope I said that correctly. Take Marie too.
Yo, thanks for the start. Hey Yurak, how's it going? Are you ready for some NMG?
Yo, what's up? I am indeed. I'm pretty excited about this. This is a bunch of fellow Light World bracket runners. We're all pretty close in terms of PBs and stuff. I'm very interested in this race. You might correct me if I'm wrong, but we've got a couple people who, from my understanding, I'm fairly new to the community. A couple of people who have like a decent amount of reputation in rando and are now, I would consider to be like up and comers in the NMG space. So that's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, no, I think you're certainly correct. And so, Trinexx, I think, has been around for what, as is Daaanty, but you're absolutely right, I think, in that both of them probably are primarily known in more so the randomizer community. Daaanty probably specifically won the 2021 main tournament last year, along with a slew of other, like titles, but relatively new, to, of course, like the NMG scene, maybe like more so like just recently started to grind out a PB. Notably, actually, Trinexx and Daaanty's PBs are 13 seconds apart. Both have a low to mid 127. Trinexx is a 127.08. Daaanty's is a 127.21 seconds. So anytime when you see kind of these like really close PBs, you're definitely in for a really good race.
I think so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah. And
go ahead.
No. I was gonna say actually. So this is this is week 2 of Swiss. For just a little bit background about, in this case, like the league. This is a 4-week Swiss. So everyone who kind of plays Swiss, everyone starts out 0-0, and then depending on whether you win or lose, the previous week you kind of match up with someone with the same record. Happens to be this case that Daaanty and Trinexx are in the 0-1. Week in this case, both of them ended up losing, and so Trinexx lost to Spleeby last week, and Daaanty, the last match of the Light World division, he actually lost, and it happens to be in this case he took a Trinexx death. Once Fox ended up putting in like the result immediately, Daaanty ended up getting notified, and then his next opponent was also Trinexx. So a bit more of a it's like the glove hadn't even fallen, and then Daaanty was already happy in this case have to face his arch nemesis.
More Trinexx fights. Let's go. That is really funny. I remember that happening.
Yeah. So I'm certainly ready in this case to we're gonna get a lot of especially when we get into Turtle Rock and Trinexx itself, we're gonna have lots and lots of Trinexx jokes, neck and I don't even know. I'm gonna lose track of how many necks there are gonna be total.
All right. It looks like we're about to get started.
Yeah, it looks like it. Just getting on screen. In this case, they are, as per tradition, I think for the NMG races, they are going to give each other 5 names, just kind of as a make sure in this case that we are actually, seeing in this case both runners, kind of race live. Okay, looks like Daaanty, or at least Trinexx, says he misses IRC, and maybe it looks like Daaanty, 8:30 p.m. In rando, Eastern time zone. This is also NMG time zone. Looks like maybe he's gonna be ready for bed after this.
I mean, who doesn't like a good veg?
That's true. That is very true. Yeah, so hopefully in this case we're gonna get off to the races, and yes, Daaanty is absolutely looking probably to get some revenge on Trinexx, and it just happens to be in this case, Trinexx the runner might unfortunately get caught in the crossfires. Literally, like fire rod and like the ice rod. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, we'll see. I'm really excited to see where this goes. Like I'm fairly familiar with Daanty's play. I haven't really watched Trinexx do a lot of speedruns, so this will be a little new for me.
Oh yeah, that's actually true. And in fact, so maybe if those of you who kind of like watch some of the NMG runs, and that kind of maybe towards like the mid to end game, type situation, there's going to be a little bit potentially of some divergence depending on when the runners decide to go get their In this case, Ice Rod and Ether Medallion. So I'm actually not too as familiar with either Trinexx's or Daanty's routes, so certainly going to be interested in this case and see what kind of different choices in this case, or life decisions that both Daaanty and Trinexx makes.
That's right. Looking at their times, it looks like Trinexx does all of his shopping up front.
Okay. So, alright.
And Daanty's, I'm having trouble reading. I think he does a slightly more traditional shopping route, from what I can see. He actually might put them. He might shop in. Do all of his shopping in Misery Mire, actually.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, and so we'll probably can talk, a little bit more about that when we end up getting, to the, actually to like the divergence point. But it actually does sound like we're going to get a little bit of different pathing, different routing in this case, in order to get the items. And of course, it is to each runner's preferences. There are going to be advantages and disadvantages, to both decisions. It just kind of depends on, what you're kind of comfortable with.
For sure. I mean, that's kind of the nice thing about having a variable shopping route. You don't have to stick to one specific thing.
Yeah.
Just do what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, no, and of course, it's all fun, right? This is a great game for everybody to enjoy. Lots of different modes, lots of different settings. But still, kind of at the end of the day, right? This is supposed to be, even though it's a race, competitive, speed running, takes a lot of skill. It is ultimately still supposed to be enjoyable and fun. Imagine that.
It's. I mean, it is a video game, so it looks like we are getting underway. For those of you not familiar with the beginning of this game, there's a whole lot of exposition gonna happen. We're just kind of ignore a bunch of it and just mash through text boxes because we're trying to go fast.
But
there's also a lot of other mashing going on in the form of pumping, which, if you're not familiar, when you're moving in a direction, if you're moving in an up direction or a westerly left direction, you can push. You can do inputs that are orthogonal to that, and they will change your movement speed by resetting. There's a alternating frame, like pixel per frame movement pattern when moving in a straight line, and by pushing inputs into or against walls, you can reset that. And it turns out that it's good when you're moving left or when you're moving up. So we're going to be doing a lot of that. By just sliding along walls and trying to go fast, and not doing that when we're going the other way.
And it's actually, it's really surprising, especially if you play, try to start out the game, right? Like the first thing you want to basically try to do is you're just holding the directional button, right? And actually, it turns out in this case that if you, actually kind of like reset, or in this case pump in the upwards and the upwards and leftmost directions, you can actually kind of like reset the movements and basically get, every once in a while you can basically get like that extra pixel of movements. Of course, kind of the downside is that you really don't want to do that, like on the alternating ones, like like right and down, because then you're actually going to like basically slow like movement down. So hold right. that is the fun part, but don't hold left.
Coming up to the second key guard. Oh no! Trinexx looks like he's had a little bit of fun there, but gets through it without too much trouble. Daaanty has a pretty standard kill there. So now we're gonna go down the stairs, get a few more pumps in this little hallway, and then the first quote-unquote boss of the game.
You don't need quotes here, Rock, don't worry. It is actually the boss, yes, officially the boss.
Officially the boss of this game.
Yeah, I mean, as Daaanty, kind of already demonstrated, so in this case, both of them are, going for 8/, which is, by far certainly like going to be the fastest strat. But certainly, as Daaanty, ended up demonstrating, getting hit from the ball and chain guard also is, going to be quite dangerous. We only have 3 hearts to our name, and the ball and chain guard, if you end up getting hit, is going to take 1 heart whole off of your damage, or your life. We do still need to survive, yes.
Meanwhile, Trinexx on the other side, getting through without getting hit by the ball and chain, but missing the boomerang catch on the big key. So we're very close at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, and Escape, is kind of one of those places, especially, beginning of the game, to move, to go like optimally and really fast is actually surprisingly difficult, especially just because of our, our equipment, how much health we have. We're also somewhat limited to our equipment, right? And you actually spread. It's part of the reason in this case that both runners are trying to boom the key instead of kind of like walking towards it and trying to pick it up. Is that boomerang actually brings it? Not only does it bring it to you, it's actually a few frames faster.
Right. Yeah, like you said, our only options as far as like offensive capability at this point are the sword and a boomerang, and so we are mostly relying on movement. And once we try and get through all of this part, then we're somewhat rewarded. The sewers are a little more forgiving in terms of like how much damage the enemies deal, but we still have to we're trying to economize how much time we take to get through various screens in Escape. And like you said, it is somewhat input intensive because of all the pumping. And then, you also have to accommodate different enemy RNGs that can come up. And so It's not, even though it's the first split of the game, it's not the easiest. At least not to go fast.
For sure. And that's kind of, almost, especially in more commonly seen probably in the light world, it is kind of like the game is, it's actually, if you just do the bare bones stuff, it is actually very surprisingly difficult. The game offers you a variety of different safeties, even, for example, in Escape, right? Even though these runners are definitely not going for it, there are a bunch of pots that have hearts under them, just especially, even before the ball and chain guard, right? You can actually pick up those pots, don't have to even touch that guy at all, and there are hearts underneath, right? So there are definitely really much safer, but slightly slower strats that you can take that kind of almost guarantee you don't die. But of course, it is going to come at the cost of time, right? Just like Kakariko, you can get the bug net, you can get the bottle, you can get multiple bombs, you can get potions, there are all these things available to you. But of course, in this case, if you want to go fast, probably gonna have to forego those types of luxuries.
That's right.
Oh no, Daaanty.
Daaanty taking a rat to the face?
Exactly. This is what you're talking about, right? Sometimes you just have to, hope in this case that the, rats are kind of going to be, in your favor. But it looks like actually, all right, so this is actually going to be really cool. On Trinexx's side, he actually ended up getting rat frames, which is, you can tell because of pushing animation. And then Daaanty, having some heartbeat frames, actually is going to cause the text boxes on both sides actually to scroll just a little bit faster.
Yeah, I noticed Daaanty, actually, after pulling the switch, intentionally walked down into a rat to take an extra hit of damage to put himself at 1 heart. That was a really heads-up play.
Yeah, no, that was actually really cool.
Looks like rat frames are going to win out a little bit, but Daaanty not too far behind.
Yeah, and of course, as both, especially on Daaanty's side, certainly no reason at this point to not pick it up. Both runners ended up picking up probably the best safety item, the certainly most convenient one, which is the Sanctuary Heart. Not only, of course, does it give you that, basically gives you a 33% increase in your total health, it also refills your maximum health to the fullest. Especially useful, especially for Daaanty, who's only on 1 heart, but also, trying to traverse this pretty dangerous overworld, especially with these Octoroks that does 1 heart of damage.
Right you are. And as we head towards Eastern Palace, we are going to see a few more cool strats. We are now introduced to stair pumping, which is basically pumping while moving up and down stairs.
More movement.
And then as soon as we get through all these Armoses and Octoroks, we are going to enter the first quote-unquote real dungeon of the game. It's actually, I don't even know, because at the end of the game it says level 1 is in the Dark World, so, these are practice dungeons, I guess, basically.
Yeah, that's actually true. Yeah, I also did want to just maybe briefly point out, you talk about, in this case, scare pumping, right? Actually, sometimes it's actually kind of difficult to be able to tell, when you're actually gaining just that extra, pixel or, of movement. One actually really good place to see, stair pumping in this case is that when both runners kind of enter the Eastern Palace area, in order to, if you are pumping correctly, you actually can get enough speed and to bypass basically that blue guard that's kind of guarding the palace. If you are not, you cannot beat him, and then you're going to end up taking damage.
Yeah, it works out to something like a 33% increase in being able to speed when climbing stairs, which is fairly significant. It's a lot better than that's even better than everything except for double pumping against to like one tile with like the catwalk we're going to see in just a moment.
Yeah, and right, and so sometimes, especially on like, screen for screen, you may not actually necessarily notice it, but it certainly really does add up. You're right, the catwalk, right after in this case, you're gonna grab the small key and then kind of walk over to the left side. It's actually probably one of the more noticeable rooms that you're probably gonna see between basically no pumping, just like regular, holding the directional pad. In this case, like double pumping.
Yeah, if you do a really, really good pump, it can save you like over a second.
Now again, right, like even like a second maybe you'd be like, oh, okay, like that doesn't sound like a big deal. Especially over the course of a run, it is quite a big deal. May not necessarily be noticeable, between two runners that aren't necessarily synced, but certainly, very, very noticeable, basically over the course of the run.
Yeah, that's really the key to going fast in this game is frames add up to seconds. Strats save you frames. Frames add up to seconds. Seconds add up to minutes, and that's what separates like really, really good runners from, everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, even if you save, let's say, like a frame or two, or a handful of frames, right? Per room or per screen, there are like over 500 rooms that you have to basically traverse them. So yes, these things can definitely add up.
That's right.
Alright, so onwards to the back of Eastern Palace. Both runners end up picking up the bow and some, requisite ammo, in this case for the quiver. A little bit, so I think both runners are fine. In this case, Daaanty is on 2 hazards that have a hard on Trinexx, so that's actually going to be potentially beneficial to allow him potentially extra hits when we come up to the Igors, especially the red Igors in particular, can actually be, quite dangerous if you're trying to move fast. Because you really want to get up close and personal, and these guys do 100 damage. Oh no, Daaanty!
Daaanty had a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, unfortunately didn't quite get the right setup, so then, and not only that, the pot was guarding the red Igor, so couldn't even actually get through.
And so now we're in the Armos Knights fight. Trinexx looks to have a pretty standard one. You're going to put 5 arrows into the 2 at the top right, leaving that last one alive so that you can clean it up when it comes back around on the other side and it allows you to skip the enraged phase, which would actually reset its health back to full and require you to fire 3 more arrows into it, but the way that we set it up lets us get through the fight with the minimum of arrows and, more importantly, a minimum of time spent.
Yeah, of course, right. Ammunition, in this case resource management, is quite important. And you actually see in this case, Daaanty ended up getting an arrow drop, which is actually very beneficial. Ideally we get 2 of them, 1 is just fine, but Trinexx actually didn't get any drops. Might have to be a little bit conscious later of his arrow count. But you know what, we don't have to worry about arrows right now, because with that green pendant on Trinexx's side first, we get the boots, which is the best item in the entire game. We can finally, in this case, run.
We can finally go fast. Yeah,
that's right. This is a speed run now. It used to be a speed pump, and now it's an actual run. Starting with, of course, the very first demonstration of a minor glitch called Split Speed on Trinexx's side. Oh, really nicely done also on Daanty's side as well.
Perfect. So for those of you who aren't aware, the way that this glitch works is the game doesn't really like it when you do 2 things at the same time. You'll see later on that there's a similar glitch you can perform by using an item, like a Y item, and dashing at the same time. Like literally pushing both buttons on the same frame. To activate spin speed, you do a similar trick by releasing a spin, so letting go of the B button and pushing the A button at the same time that you do that. Not the easiest thing to do with 100% consistency, but pretty necessary to get through a lot of these screens where it puts you into like a glitch state, and then when you walk over like the edge of a set of stair tiles, the game thinks that you are dashing off of the stairs and gives you dashing speed, even though you're just walking around. It's really cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, very, very important. In fact, right. So part of like the greatest benefit of spin speed, right, is that we actually see, in this case, Daaanty and Trinexx actually both have done phenomenal spin speed so far. Every single time in this case, when we have to dash, we have to basically charge our dash first before we can move, right? And every charge is actually right around half a second it takes. So imagine this case where in this case spin speed, not only do you not have to charge, your dash, you basically can move directions as well, right? So we don't have to basically, adjust yourself and then recharge and then redash. So certainly really, really helpful.
That's right. It's very helpful on a certain set of screens. And we'll see an even more extensive use of it coming up after this dungeon.
Oh, right, yeah. And actually, yeah, I think in this case, Daaanty at least he actually used spin speed into the library. Sometimes, it's certainly going to be it's probably more one of the optional spin speeds. Probably, versus dashing probably doesn't save that much more time, but it's really good to be able to see him, make a clean entry, into the library and get this Book of Medora. And so like in situations like this where spin speed, while you save yourself a handful of frames, spin speed, as we're gonna see, as you alluded to, in the future, especially when we go up, let's say Death Mountain, or when there's added security, in that screen, basically when there are a couple of red guards floating around, you really want to make sure that you have all the speed necessary in order to avoid damage.
Right. But while we're moving through Desert Palace, the second practice dungeon of the game.
Yeah, we don't even get anything good. We just get like a lousy pendant, right? At least the green one got us the boost. Like, what does this blue one get us?
It gets us a lift upgrade.
Oh, but we get the lift upgrade before the pendant.
I mean, true. But at least we can like pick up heavy rocks and stuff.
That's true.
That's gotta be useful, right?
Eventually, yes.
So we were talking about ammunition earlier. A lot of the movement through this dungeon allows us to set up for the boss fight that we're gonna have here. We also need a bunch of arrows for this fight as well. And so we are moving through and picking up pots that contain arrow drops underneath. Daaanty's looking pretty good with 29 out of 30 available arrows. Trinexx also not in bad shape with 24. I'll be interested to see if he picks up. There's another arrow pot like right before the end of this dungeon with another 5 that he might be interested in.
Right.
So here's one more spin speed that's like perfectly optional. Trinexx obviously just saying, nah, forget it. And Daanty's like, nah, I need to save some time. It doesn't save that much time. It's probably on the order of like 10 or 15 frames, but it comes with the risk of like a 40-second time loss if you accidentally jump off of that ledge. So
that is certainly true, right? Though that spin speed out of the back of Desert into Desert 2 is certainly one of those high risk, lower rewards, right? As you said, every frames certainly do add up when you're saving them. It just happens to be that if you can't control the speed, partially in this case, Daaanty had a pause buffer in order to kind of help him out in order to stop or know in this case when to turn. But if you end up falling off, I really hope in this case you like the front of Desert because you're going to do it again.
That's right.
Alright, looks like actually, so Trinexx, even down a 5 arrow drop, is going to opt to not pick up the pot arrows that were actually right next to him. Daaanty, already going to be into Land Molus. Let's see how the best boss fight of the entire, at least, life flow goes.
Something like that.
Oh dear. Alright, well, okay, so
this is not my favorite boss fight, but I recognize that it is very skill intensive.
Yeah, absolutely correct, right. And, part of the reason in this case, why we cared about all of those arrows is because, well, arrows actually do, in this case, fact the most damage. It'll be 4 arrows per each landmark. You kind of see both the runners trying to take the dash and then the buck to kind of set themselves up for the first cycle. But kind of everything after that, they just have to start, reacting, basically to the RNG. So this is actually, depending on the patterns, can actually be quite difficult.
Daaanty giving us a little spoilers in chat about how his fight went.
I would say it's relatively even. I unfortunately needed a compass in order to count the number of landmill cycles both runners had, but maybe it looks like Trinexx at least was able to etch out that, at least his landmill's fight over Daaanty.
It looked like he was about a cycle, maybe a cycle and a half ahead.
Yeah.
I lost count of what the actual cycles were.
Oh, right. And the cycles, of course, are kind of like ballpark, right? You certainly have like short cycles and long cycles, but yeah, it looks like at least it's going to be at least like one fewer cycle on Trinexx's side. But of course, there's absolutely nothing in this case that Daaanty can't overcome.
That's right. Coming up, we have an interesting glitch called Fake Flippers. It turns out if you do more than one thing at the same time, in this case, transition the screen before the game tries to check if you are able to swim, it just forgets to do that. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh,
so,
Daaanty!
Daaanty, please, Daaanty!
Everything's fine.
Very,
Everything's
very
fine.
important.
We're in the
Very
portal.
important
All
problem
right.
with fake flippers is if you get hit by an enemy, it tries to put you back where the last place that you could stand, and on that screen there is nowhere that you could stand. So it is a soft lock. We do allow it's a singular instance in tournament races where we allow runners to save and quit if they do meet that kind of fate. Fortunately, that didn't happen here. And we're both able to continue.
Yes. Yeah. Right. And for of course a normal RTA attempt, especially if you end up getting fake flipper, that is pretty much the end of your run. So, but of course, as you mentioned before, this is a race. You don't really have necessarily like the option of, in this case, like resetting, or especially if it's pretty much almost like 20 minutes in, it's going to be a lot of progress.
Right.
All right.
So, as we mentioned before, here's the Death Mountain screen with a pretty large and very fun, in my opinion, spin speed.
Yeah, actually, one of the few spin speeds where it's actually worth to retry and in order to achieve the spin speed state. Most of the other ones, especially like one on the Saha, one to the library, not very much risk, right? Especially because there are also no dangers. But you actually kind of see even on Daanty's side, even though he has spin speed, the boulders don't, the bedrocks don't always have to cooperate with you, which is kind of like why it's so vitally important that we don't end up spending any time, let's say, like charging our dashes, and we just can run past, as fast as we can go.
Yeah. On Trinexx's side, we're coming up on Tile Room, which is everybody's favorite little cutscene-ish kind of screen in the light world.
Yeah, this is like the one there's one of the few, I guess, like auto-scrollers, I guess, of this game. You maybe argue like the conveyor belt rooms, like in TR, for example, are also auto-scrollers, but this one, there are very, very few things you could do in order to, speed this room up. I guess right. So.
You just have to sit here and wait and watch all the tiles come at you, try not to take any damage, and it's fun. There are strats you can do to try and, save a little bit of time, like you said. If you can trick the game. Oh no, Trinexx, please. If you can use, there's a couple of they're not really glitches. They're more exploits. You can get inside of the pegs, the blue pegs there, and then you don't have to flip the switch in the next room. But they don't save that much time in this route, so it's not, you don't see it all that much unless people are going for like really, really top times.
Yeah, right. I mean, it is like on the order of single digits, right?
Less than a second of time save.
Yeah.
Trinexx taking an intentional death in the basement room of Hera after picking up the big key. Perfectly reasonable, in my opinion, right now. You don't want to try and do this dungeon on half a heart.
Yes, and this is actually probably one of those calculated things. As actually Petting Zoo, that Moldorm just demonstrated as to why in this case you really probably if you're going to take basically a death and try to regain some of your health, that is a very excellent opportunity to do so. Again, not certainly required at all. We actually see Daaanty in this case. Well, Daaanty was kind of trying to set up for the early bomb jump, but looks like actually in this case we actually can't. He needs
Daaanty.
He needs to hit the. I guess he can bonk back.
Yeah, he has to bonk back right now. Daaanty accidentally hitting the star tile, which changes the layout of the room and making that bomb jump very unfamiliar.
Yeah, right. And typically you kind of see like on Trinexx's side, there are especially speedrun, you kind of sometimes you fall back to your muscle memory, right? And you just kind of try and do like normal setups. When you're kind of facing a situation like that, you just kind of hope that your NMG instincts kind of kick in. Trinexx actually had a somewhat more of a turbulent last phase on Moldorm, but he was able to take him down.
I'm surprised he didn't get hit there, to be honest.
Yeah, he looked really close to getting knocked off. Alright, Daaanty also.
Daaanty playing it safe, but it's okay. Not doing too bad. I mean, he's lost a little bit of time in this split, but the 12 or 13 seconds that he's down is probably not like a super big deal.
Oh yeah, and in fact, Daaanty is fulfilling his own personal wish, and that he is getting out of the split. Actually, for the most part, honestly, relatively unfazed. Oh, Trinexx actually taking a bonk there. Certainly, probably uncharacteristic, but at least it wasn't too costly of a bonk. This one in particular, going down Death Mountain descent, is probably, if you end up bonking there, that is going to be quite costly.
Absolutely the worst bonk in the game.
Yes. All right. No, looks like though, at least Trinexx made it down unfazed, and now we are actually going to, in this case, go get a couple of. We're going to stop by a couple ATMs in the form of trees, because in this case, we've already got our pin and a bank account number all ready to go. Trinexx already, in this case, demonstrating his tree pull. Daaanty getting a couple extra rupees just because he wasn't as fortunate earlier with his rupee drops. But the goal in this case is to, we're going to, say hello to a couple of enemies and make sure we kill 4 of them without getting hit, and we basically have enough money in order to pay off another animal friend in the Dark World.
That's right. Yeah, so... Oh gosh, there's nice...
Oh my gosh.
That bush guard is super... At least it was the farther bush that spawned the bush guard there.
That's true.
Sometimes you get that closer one, and it's very... If you're not ready for it, it can just sneak up on you, and all of a sudden your plans are ruined. So like Clearmouth said, the way the trees pulls work is there are 3 tiers of prizes that you get from pulling trees and various other things strewn around the map. The first one is green rupees, the second one is blue rupees, and the third one is red rupees. And so we've seen the blue rupees, which are you get that by killing 4 enemies, and then Trinexx apparently missed one, so we're going back and making sure we get the 4th kill. And the third tier, green is when you kill just some enemies, and then so that's tier 1. Tier 2 is you kill more than 4 enemies, and then tier 3 is you kill 4 enemies without getting hurt.
Right,
And
yeah.
so that's what we have done. We have navigated Lost Woods to kill 4 enemies without taking damage, so that when we come back to that tree, it will give us red rupees.
Yeah, in Trinexx having a significantly friendlier Lost Woods than Daaanty. So Daaanty not only of course got a bush guard, he also got a bomb. Any point when he takes damage, unfortunately, Daaanty at least would have to, in this case, start his, rupee progression all over again.
That's right. Luckily for us, there is a backup right here to the right of where Daaanty is going right now on that tree. But you want to avoid that if possible. You just want to stick to the traditional rupee route without having to go and do that.
Right. I mean, right. The standard route, or in this case, the traditional route, for most, if not all things in Link to the Past, is very calculated to be the fastest. Backups are just to make sure that you don't lose too much time. You can still basically cheat for a goal, right? So, ideally, we would just never use any backups. All right. Looks like though, also probably important for not taking damage, both runners kind of demonstrating that it is really, really nice to have beams, especially for this room. And in this case, we can actually beam the blue guards once and then dash kill them. And this is going to actually prevent the advancement of a prize pack, just so we can actually do some future planning when we get to, Trinexx's home in Turtle Rock a little bit, like 45, 50 minutes later. Nice chest turn on Daaanty's side, by the way.
Yeah, and as we continue moving through Aghanim's Tower, we have... Oh no, interesting block there. But Trinexx did manage to save... He did save beams. I guess he just wasn't thinking about it. There's a strat you can do in the first of these red guard rooms that's really nice. It just aggroes them and puts them in a place where you can just use the bow to hit them really, really quickly. But not doing too badly. All said, really. Yeah,
slightly different looks like strats in this case. So good thing in this case, at least with Circle of Pots, the first red card actually looked like it was kind of in Trinexx's way, but luckily he was kind of able to avoid that.
Yeah, I think he got it just in time without it getting in the way of throwing that pot to kill the innermost red guard. So now we are coming up to the Great Equalizer of the Light World.
Yes, here we are. You know, and as in this case, light world bosses kind of progress, right? Especially you even want to call Count Bell and Chain Guard, you know, as it Armos Knights, for example, almost scripted, right? You know, there are very deterministic methods that we can actually use in order to kill them quickly. We have a reasonable setup for Landmos. And then you kind of, move over to Moldorm, where you're just kind of trying to follow his, erratic movement, and then, finally, on the tail end of the RNG spectrum, this is in this case where there is absolutely nothing you can do. You just kind of have to go through the motions and hope that in this case the game is kind. So far, Trinexx is 2 for 2 blue balls. Let's see in this case what 3 for 3.
Oh, 3 for 3. Let's go.
Let's see what Daaanty ends up getting. All right, there's 1. And of course, just a kind reminder, of course, this is not, the same ROM or anything like that. 2 completely different runs. Nothing is seeded. Daaanty can get 1 blue ball, Trinexx can get 10 blue balls. We're certainly not going to hope that's the case. Just
for the sake of competition, we like to see the leading player get more blue balls so that it's a little more even going into Dark World. But, certainly not gonna. Nobody likes this fight.
Right,
anyway,
right.
So.
I mean, right, and hopefully in this case, you never really want to see a race determined by, like one person gets 2 blue balls and the other person gets 8. Just gonna maybe have hope in this case that it's gonna be relatively, same number, even if it's gonna be, like 11 versus 13. I have no idea, by the way, what the counts were.
I thought it was 2 and 5, but I thought that Trinexx just had a lightning strike, so maybe I miscounted somewhere. Daaanty definitely had less, so we're basically even at this point, which is really nice.
Yes, yeah, almost basically completely in sync. Just actually, Daaanty, I think he's scrolling the text just like a line or 2 faster, or more advancing than the Trinexx is. Alright, looks like Sirius, though, in chat has at least counted for us. Daaanty is 3 blue balls versus Trinexx is 5. But we are, in this case, after all of the light world tribulations, we can finally get comfy and cozy.
Yeah, now the speedrun can begin.
That's right, and now we can actually get something actually going here in the Dark World. Alright, looks like though both runners are completely equipped with— oh no, Daaanty, man, these enemies, right?
You're doing a decent job of
oh yeah, for sure.
accounting for that RNG. Like, sometimes that Hynix just throws 2 bombs at you, and if you don't deal with it, like, you're just gonna— you have to account for it somehow. It's annoying, but it happens.
Yeah, right, and this is just kind of, again, one of those things where you just can't control, right? You can't really control how many bombs they end up taking. I'm really enjoying the sync here between, in this case, Daaanty and Kiki, the double rupee sound in this case.
Daaanty pulling ahead by not menu buffering to mirror. Let's go. He's gonna have to make up that time in a second, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah, amazing. All right, so Daaanty's gonna be actually the first one into the Palace of Darkness, and right, and our previously alluded to animal friend, which in fact was Kiki the monkey. Quite in this case, the entrepreneur, he does ask you for 10 rupees, so he'll follow you, and of course every time you get hit or something and you lose him, he's gonna ask for 10 more rupees. So hopefully in this case, because nobody got hurt in the process of our escort mission, we only need 110 in order to enter Palace of Darkness. Oh no! Daaanty was trying to slash the bar. That Bari, like every single Bari, by the way, is an absolute jerk.
That Bari is awful. Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter. Like when you slash, when you don't slash, it never shocks, and then when you start slashing, like, so it just knows. In this case, like, and then just starts to electrocute you.
It's even worse than that, right? Because as you play the game more and you get used to the patterns of the Baris, you start to be like, no, it's not gonna do the shock yet. So you go ahead and swing, and of course, as soon as you swing, it does it. It's like
false sense of security. It's like luring you, right? Like taunting you. Oh,
come on, just hit me. Oh no, it's like that Geico commercial where he's like got the dollar on the fishing line. He's like, oh, you almost had it. But the route through this dungeon is kind of annoying. You go and you find a thing, and then you mirror back to the start because that's what the mirror does. and then you go and find some more things, and you mirror back to the start. And then the third pass, you make your way to the back like we're doing now, and we're coming up on our first big sequence break of the run, where we're gonna skip doing the intended key route and kind of clip into this railing here. Trinexx having a pretty good one, only like 1 or 2 pause buffers, Daaanty right behind him. And we're gonna pick up this small key instead. Doing this optimally saves at least 40 seconds, I think.
Yeah, something like that, right? Because right, so like you can actually pause buffer like something like 30 sometimes in this case, and every pause buffer, just for some frame of reference, is right around a second. So yeah, you can even like do that many just basically to line yourself up, and you'll still save time. So it should be something, you know, it's quite a major sequence break in this case. I'm not even sure if I know the intended like key route that impels darkness at this point anymore, because I think we just every single time, right, you always just end up seeing basically runners like hammering on is an absolute.
It's one of the 4 chests up and to the right, but it takes forever to like go find it, so it's not worth bothering over, because you still have to like go through the dark maze and do all of those things, and it's a huge pain.
Oh no, Trinexx unfortunately losing part of his beams, in this case on the spike. Yeah, you kind of end up seeing, you know, in the back, both runners after the hammer jump took some bomb damage, right? Took in this case an extra heart to refill, so they can get beams not only for, of course, for that switch, is going to actually be for the subsequent switch here down in the basement. Now Daanty's going to have beams in this case, so he's going to be able to hit the switch with the sword beams, saving a little bit of time. And unfortunately, Trinexx, right, not having any type of projectile weapon, is going to have to spend a couple
for the
in this
swag
case.
boom. Let's go.
Yeah, but you know, gonna have to unfortunately sacrifice a little bit of extra menu time there.
Daaanty doing a nice job in turtles. Trinexx doing the exact same one. That room is very fun, very satisfying. It can be a little nerve-wracking if it doesn't go according to plan.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, when people do, especially, you know, looking at, you know, Daaanty and Trinexx's execution, right? When it goes right, you're just like, oh, of course, that looks so easy. Like, and then you actually go do it, and you realize just like how much practice and like how much, not necessarily manipulation, but just how well they can react to different situations to make it look so easy.
Yeah, it's a fairly precise room. You're manipulating the turtle movement. You're trying to get spins in and places where or hammer slashes in, so that you can like land spins and kill enough of the turtles that you can just clean them all up without having any of them flip back over. Daaanty having a really nice Helmosaur fight. We kind of just glossed over like the first big like skill test of the run. This is a huge reset point for everybody. This game is hard.
It is, but you know, so not only, of course, are we equipped with Sankar, which is probably one of the, as you said, because the Helmosaur is such a run killer, including Palace of Darkness, a lot of people end up taking up Sankar because when Helmosaur does damage, kind of demonstrated on Trinexx's side, he does 2 hearts of damage, and that extra 7th heart container that you can have for full health basically can net you an extra hit. Turns out in this case, Daaanty didn't even need it. Partially, also, I think both sides kind of showed this, was in addition to be able to do spin speed for faster movement on the overworld, people kind of discovered that with spin speed, if you arm it, you can kind of offset the hammer's hitbox, and especially for phase 2, you can in this case then, you know, use your hammer, which basically has a previously notoriously terrible hitbox. Once it's offset, though, you can do 10% damage with it, which of course then makes the fight much more safer and consistent. Speaking of safer and consistent, Daaanty just dashed under the ropa. From a viewer's perspective, it looks really cool because it's like, oh wow, you know. But from a runner's perspective, you don't want to get lottoed, which basically means you just take 2 hearts of damage for no reason because the game thinks that the rope hit you.
You deserved it, clearly.
Yes, by no fault of our own.
What were you doing there? Like you were asking for it. No, let's not go there. We're gonna carry on through South Dark World now. Oh, well, there's some more fun. Trinexx getting an unfortunate RNG pattern right before the first item dash of the game, which, like I said before, the game doesn't like it when you try and do 2 things at the same time. In this case, use your hammer and start a dash. And so it gives you a hammer swing, but it also lets you start running. And Trinexx, unfortunately, getting the bad Robo RNG where he gets hit before he can like get the item dash off. Not a super big deal. It's just really annoying to have that happen. It's like losing a second for really no good reason at all.
Yeah, although it looks like actually both, both Daaanty and Trinexx ended up actually mirroring in some good locations. And what we actually mean by good is that if you actually can mirror basically where, in this case, Trinexx and Daaanty did in order to get to the light world, if you do it correctly, you can get what we call quick warps. Basically, it's just if you just mirror in the right places, the game warping animation is 34 frames faster, which is right around half a second. So good on them. Of course, they'll save a little bit of time. Speaking of, though, there is basically the other very requisite spin speed screen. After Aghanim's defeat, apparently all of Kakariko Village is just now crawling with extra security because reasons, I guess. So, especially that red guard, if you do not have spin speed and know how to manipulate him, kind of his movements, you will not have a good time on that screen.
That's right. That is definitely one of the requisite spin speeds of this run. Oh no, Daaanty getting
yeah, we talked
really
about getting
unfortunate guard
right?
pattern.
Yeah. Oh,
luckily for him, we're in the light world, so that guard doesn't do as much damage as the Ropas do.
Yeah, no, that is certainly true.
But it's really annoying.
Yeah.
You can get through that screen without touching any of the guards. It's really fun to do, but sometimes RNG just doesn't cooperate. But now we're moving into the second Dark World dungeon of the run, which is the fourth intended dungeon of the Dark World, which is Thieves Town. And the reason we do that is because hidden somewhere in this dungeon
we won't tell you where.
We won't tell you where. We'll find out. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. We'll see. We'll see if these runners can find it for us. Are the Titansmiths.
Well, I mean, they're not going to pick up, like, the map or the compass, so I think they're just going to have to, I guess,
just open chest until they find it?
Yeah, they're just going to traverse this dungeon blind. Don't laugh. Don't laugh at the joke. It's a pretty bad one.
Anyway, yeah, so the dungeon item in this in here is the Titansmiths, which give us another lift upgrade. And we're going to use that to give us access to a little bit more offensive power in the form of the Tempered Sword ahead of schedule. The game didn't want to give you this until you get to this point after you've beaten most of the Dark World dungeons, but there's nothing preventing us from going to Thieves Town, so we're just going to go ahead and do it.
Yeah, no, exactly. And right. I mean, right. So, like, if you kind of, like, watch in this case, like, the game's intended progression, right? With the hammer, kind of first places that you can probably go to, especially in the South Dark World, right? You could probably end up going over to Swamp Palace. But of course, we don't really have anything we could use in order to get in there. But the game doesn't really prevent you from kind of exploring the rest of the place. This place tends to be a little bit more, dangerous, just because, everything here does do 2 hearts of damage if you end up getting hurt. But of course, if we just move well, we don't have to necessarily worry about that. And of course, as alluded to or as kind of demonstrated, why if we can get tempered damage, for example, let's say we saw, with spin speed and with the hammer, if we can basically just get that with the sword and like a really nice hitbox, we're definitely going to want that not only for consistency but also for speed.
Yeah, that's right. If we hit harder, we generally kill things faster, and that's generally a good idea. Both runners moving through this dungeon without too much problems. Daaanty had to pick up an extra bomb in the attic. I'm not really sure where his other one went. I guess that might just be a thing he does.
Yeah, I guess
I wasn't following his bomb count really well. Nice prison cell there on Daanty's side. The optimal strat is to dash right up to the key gates without bonking into them and then opening them, because you can't dash through them the same as you can the door that he just dashed through.
Right. If you actually end up just trying to dash like straight through, you will actually get a bonk. And speaking of, in this case, Daaanty was kind enough to show us where those Titansmiths are actually located. It turns out they were in the big chest all along.
Is this even randomized?
Alright, so, alright. Health-wise, probably not too big of a deal in this case, so long as this case, both runners just stick to the script, which in this case means that if you do the same inputs to Blind, Blind will do the exact same outputs to you. Of course, a pretty dang safe, in this case, boss fight, so long as in this case, stick to the script. Daaanty getting
hopefully...
getting a little bit off, but not too big of a deal.
Yeah, as long as you generally make it through the first 2 phases of the fight, it doesn't really matter too much. Trinexx doing a good job staying on script. Pretty good helmet, pretty good blind fight there. I was going to say Check's doing a good job of helping us know that this is in fact the vanilla game.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Right, and kind of like a good basically kind of like method or indicator is kind of how far in the upper left hand corner the blind is, and maybe how much of that I guess like the skylight doesn't hit him. So in this case, kind of saw in this case that Trinexx seemed to hit you a really good fight, basically kind of nice and nestled up there. Certainly a good indication. And the real only difference or difficulty of this fight is probably in this case if things do go off script, especially you see so many different heads and fireballs kind of flying at you, it's very easy to die quickly, and then the refight. Because you start at the bottom and Blind starts at the top, it is no longer scripted, so it's going to be a much more difficult fight because you have to react basically a lot more.
Yeah, luckily we don't have to deal with that. Most speedruns, you just that's not really an option. Like dying to Blind is far too much of a time loss, and you're just better off starting over.
Yeah, and certainly right. And certainly can, in this case, like depend on what your reset tolerance is. If you're kind of one of those people who are really probably gunning for like PB, reset probably going to be more likely. If you're one of those people who just kind of tends to finish out more runs, certainly maybe you'll just eat the time loss and then just kind of keep going for the rest of the night.
That's true, but like you said, it is a much harder fight the second time around. So. And this being a race and resets not really being an option.
Yeah, no,
Good thing that we're not dealing with that. But like we said, we're now moving into the Smith sequence. We go and rescue the dwarf who is trapped as a frog. I don't entirely remember the lore of like people being in the light world as like alternate forms or something. And he's lost and he can't find his way home, so we help him. And as thanks, he gives us a pretty good deal on a sword upgrade.
Now, do you know if it's a really good deal or if that's just like his normal price?
I mean, I guess we don't know that, but I mean, it's certainly a good deal compared to the other item that we have to shop for later on.
That is actually very true. And for how much in this case, like the benefits of this temper sword is, for only a paltry 10 rupees. In this case, actually, quite the benefit. Nice fence dash there on Daaanty's side, being able to completely move over here. Let's see in this case, hopefully Trinexx is going to get something similar.
Trinexx is going to do the obligatory fence dash attempt. Doesn't get it, but...
it's okay. The run's not ruined at all, don't worry.
It's only a second loss, isn't it?
Yeah, no. I mean, right. No one ever really wants to bonk, of course, right?
Oh, but, no, it's he taking a spear to the face.
The shield! Why? Okay, why do we even have the shield? Okay, you know what? We have the shield.
It works on the other side.
That's true. we need to be able to also, carry a shield on the right side.
We should go pick up the other shield and then carry them both.
To be able to, you know what? We should ask the game if we could quick swap between like multiple shields and like multiple swords, right? So in this case, we have a sword and shield, but we could have like sword and sword or shield and shield. Oh
man, I don't even know how that would work.
Yeah. All right, so it looks like actually we are in the we're in the big key room of Skull Woods. Daaanty making this room look like it is the easiest room in the game. Gosh. Trinexx, having actually, he got basically a little bit more movement. Unfortunately, this doesn't actually look like, in this case, like the Gyptos cooperated as well. Alright, but...
Yeah, the route through Skullwoods is a little weird. You have to go, like, most of the way through the dungeon, go find the big key, come back over here. The intended route, I don't even know. We tend to skip that.
Right, even the spot...
We go for a bomb jump here to find our dungeon item in the form of the fire rod.
Yeah, and right, and actually, like I think the intended route is, you saw just see those bushes that Trinexx ended up, dashing through. Like that center one, just like kind of like the Lost Woods drop down. Like that actually drops you down to the back, behind in this case the big chest, and then you're supposed to basically, like bomb a couple of walls open and then pull the switch and then wait for this really long animation in order to get back there. I mean, yeah, bomb jumping is way nicer.
Yeah, and then the fire rod gives us access to the back of the dungeon, which is really nice. A very, very fun segment. It's got lots of really technical rooms in it. Like this one that Daaanty's doing, which is lovingly referred to as Mummy Hellway.
There seems to be a lot of Hellways in this game. Do you think that's a coincidence?
I mean, if it's a long, narrow room with lots of enemies to go and deal with, then I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, there's the harmless Hellway. There's the Thieves Town Hellway that I think we kind of both that both runners ended up going through. Of course, there's this Mummy Hellway apparently. All right, but you know what? Onto Mothula. Daaanty got the first double poke. It looks like actually, despite Moth basically just kind of sticking around the top, Daaanty took him down very quickly. Trinexx not having as much luck, had to get a couple slashes. Don't know if some of those hits didn't actually register, just because maybe, it was a spike damage instead, but also a very nice fight. Both
2 spike spawns versus 3, not too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, this race is super tight right now. I think I don't think I can make the neck jokes quite yet because we're not in Turtle Rock, but it is in this case quite close.
Yeah, coming up is the Ice Palace segment. Also, not the intended dungeon. We're already long past the intended dungeon order. At least we do Skull third, like as is proper.
Oh,
but
yeah, actually, that's
beyond that, everything is just kind of out of whack. We've already done 4, so we're just gonna skip to 5 now.
Yeah. Right. So I guess we did 1 in order, just because we still absolutely need the hammer. We can't really get around the Dark World anywhere else. And then I guess Skull Wiz is 3, and pretty much everything else is going to be a little bit more jumbled. Is this even NMG vanilla?
Yeah, it is actually.
Yeah, that's actually true.
So we're making our way to the northeast corner of the Dark World, doing some more shopping, because it's faster to go ahead and pick the flippers up here now as opposed to any other point. We need them. We don't technically need them to get into Ice Palace. It's just it's not any faster to do it any other way. So we just go ahead and pick them up.
Yeah, Daaanty.
While we're up here, we go ahead and talk to this wonderful catfish thing. I don't remember why this is this is. I just know that this is where we get this quake medallion. Excuse me.
One of those medallions. Yeah.
One of those medallion thingies.
Yeah, and it's actually not entirely obvious. I want to say that there is like a cave storyteller hint somewhere that basically tells you that catfish has like a medallion. If you end up reading like the sign that says don't throw anything in the pond, that's also kind of supposed to indicate to you that yes, in fact, you are supposed to just break all the rules. Just like you don't listen to your uncle when he tells you to stay inside and don't go out to follow him. That's basically what we do in this case.
That's just how Zelda games work, though.
Yeah, apparently we're just supposed to defy all authority.
So yeah, now that we're equipped with the Quake Medallion that we don't need for any other purpose than accessing a dungeon, we're now moving through the Zora's River screen. A really, depending on who you ask, a very fun or very annoying screen because of how precise the movement is to avoid accidentally jumping in the water and getting a splash and wasting time.
Yeah, right, and as you said, it is a very, very precise set of movements, and in fact, actually, just when you're not careful, right, you end up kind of water bonking, right, testing out the deep waters, and hopping in. You do get some iframes, I guess that's nice, but you really don't want to take that time loss.
Yeah.
Speaking of the iframes and beams, alright, so Daaanty, at least, hopefully in this case, also Trinexx is gonna have the same fortune. We are not gonna have to take any damage before going into Ice Palace. Having beams here for the first handful of rooms is actually going to be quite beneficial for speed.
Both of them getting the close Zora spawn and
Yeah, that's
taking
nice.
the time to get it out of the way. It's not a bad strat in a race to just go ahead and like stick to what you know and just kind of deal with any, you know, anything that's not very amenable as it comes to you.
Yeah, you know, actually, that's actually a really good point too, right? And so, you know, this is actually, you just mentioned, like, this is a race, you know, between Daaanty and Trinexx. Maybe, you know, on a competitive race situation, you know, well, first off, Daaanty and Trinexx, kind of see them in chat every once in a while. They're allowed to watch the restream. They're allowed to watch each other's stream. They know, you know, where their opponent is, you know, basically, you know, at all times that they want to, right? And especially, you know, if you're running a live race versus like a PB attempt, you probably might be more comfortable taking a slightly safer, but, you know, slightly slower strat, just to ensure that in this case you don't die, right? In this case, you know, if you really want to keep those beams, you're probably willing to sacrifice a couple of extra, you know, frames here and there in order to make sure you don't get hit.
Yeah, we're now moving into some of the more iconic rooms of Ice Palace. The first being this Conveyor Room where... Oh, Danter's actually on the pixel without any setup whatsoever.
Yeah,
And
what
chickened
a
out.
gamer. Yeah, oh man. But in this case, yeah, you're kind of breaking, you know, both the Trinexx and Daaanty kind of demonstrating, you know, why it's really beneficial to be able to have beans, you know, for this Conveyor Room. Again, Baris are not our friends. We want to be
here we
able
go.
to...
Oh, here we go. There we go. Dante's showing off a
my
little
God.
bit. Missing the bomb jump
wow.
first try. Just going for the hover instead.
All right. Yep. All right. This is, you know, you can tell, you know, this is where, you know, Daanty's rando instincts are kind of kicking in. Trinexx, he also ended up setting up the bomb jump basically for the second bomb. But Daanty's like, you know what? Forget this. I'm going to just use my boots and just.
I mean, you don't have infinite bombs. You just kind of have to like do whatever makes sense to you. That was a stair flip. I'll allow it.
At least it got us down faster, and you know the good news, at least for Daaanty, is that he is actually on 5 hearts. Actually, the pretty much like the one of the best number of hearts we can have going to Cold Stare. I mean, we obviously full health would be great, but if you can't have full health, Cold Stare does 4 hearts of damage on green mail, so Daaanty is not actually in one-hit KO mode. Which is really great. Trinexx has a little bit more buffer. He can probably take a Cold Stare hit and a like falling icicle hit. Hopefully in this case, both runners are going to be able to, you know, take down Cold Stare without too much of a fuss.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to see that happen. This is one of the more punishing boss fights to take a death on in a race setting or otherwise.
Really
because
nice on.
You use all of your magic to break the giant ice block there, and if you die, you don't get it back. So you have to come up with something to do. You either farm magic drops from the pickles outside, or you just move on to Swamp Palace and have to come back here and basically do the entire dungeon again. Luckily, none of that happened. Both runners had good boss fights.
Yeah,
so we are moving on.
Yeah, actually, really nice. I would say like different textbook fights, both on Daanty's and Trinexx's side. So Daaanty, in this case, this was like the single poke. In this case, right, basically poking the Cold Stairs and then using his menu buffer at the very end to be able to kind of land that last slash. Trinexx, though, using his menu buffer actually on the very first one to kind of read maybe the RNG of where the Cold Stair puffs were, and then he used actually a slightly slower, but actually looks like just as effective 6 slash in order to take down Cold Stair. Really nice.
Yeah, very good job. It's a really... This fight is one of the separators for... You know, it's one of those, like, you know, it's one of the pain points of, like, learning to do this speedrun. Like I said, it's a reset heavy point for even advanced runners. Mm-hmm. And so, like, learning just to make it through the fight without taking a death or anything like that is a testament to the amount of skill that they have. Oh, so yeah. Now we're gonna see, this is where we get to the divergence point of the route. Looks like Trinexx is going to get his Ether Medallion from the top of Death Mountain. Daaanty, meanwhile, is heading straight to Swamp Palace. So we won't know. Like I said at the very start, I think they both do both of their shopping stops together, but in different splits. So we won't see them sync back up until looks like the start of Misery Mire, which is the dungeon after this.
Okay. So in this case, then we can kind of enjoy, in this case, the differences. We'll get a slightly, further head start, at least on Daaanty's side, into Swamp Palace. And yeah, because this is kind of more like runner's choice in this particular case, we actually kind of see in this case some of the advantages that, in this case, what Trinexx is doing right now is to actually see where the Ether Medallion is. Of course, is on Death Mountain. So what do we need in this case for Death Mountain? We potentially can take a lot of hits, so we definitely want to be able to move quickly. And of course, then the benefit being is that if you do your Ether Medallion retrieval now, even if you do take a little bit of damage from Death Mountain, from the crabs here and Ice Rod Cave, going into Swamp Palace without beams, it's probably not going to be the end of the world. Going into Misery Mire without beams is a little bit of a different story.
Right. There's a room early in Misery Mire where you want to have full health optimally, but even beyond that, health is kind of a resource that is very carefully regimented in that split, and we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, that's actually a very good point too, right? And especially end game dungeons in general, right? Health is definitely a very limited commodity. A false sense of security, even though we do have like 11, second row of hearts, right? Because everything hits so hard, you can't take that much damage. But also specifically for Vitreous and Mire, you really want to make sure you have a good amount of health going into the boss.
Yeah, I think the mathematical minimum is 5. 7 is the minimum comfortable level, and ideally we want 8 or 9.
Yeah, right.
But while we move through Swamp Palace, which is the second intended dungeon of the game, there's not a lot that's like dangerous per se here. But there are a lot of rooms where like enemies can just kind of get in your way and slow you down and be not that accommodating. And so we're just kind of this isn't really like a break point for runners. After the tribulations of Ice Palace, Swamp Palace is kind of like a step down in difficulty, but doing it fast is still there's still a lot of technical aspects to this room or to this dungeon that require focus and concentration.
Right. And it's just kind of like a difference of, I guess, like style, of difficulty, or like just different characteristics, right? For example, for Ice Palace, right, because it's kind of like a later, game dungeon. Again, everything, is like 2 to 3 hearts of damage. Cold Stare, like, does 4 hearts of damage to you. And so your run can certainly end very quickly. Now, Swamp Palace, as you said, second dungeon in the game. The worst thing that any enemy is probably going to do to you is maybe like 1 heart. Most of them is going to be like half a heart, right? But there's also, by the way, water. If you dash, it's only 3 pixels versus 4. And every single time these enemies hit you, by the way, there are a lot of them. It basically kind of knocks you off of your movement, your intended, in this case, trying to do execution, and then you have to like readjust. You have to do all these other things, stop your dash, and all these things just like add up, right? So while you're not necessarily in danger of dying all that much, you can get certainly very frustrated, at the speed at which you can or cannot move in Swamp.
Yeah, the amount of time that any one particular snag costs you in this dungeon just feels so amplified compared to the amount of the danger that it presents to you. It's an annoyance more than anything, like you said. But we're doing a pretty good job of like getting through all these things without too much trouble. Daaanty just made his trip all the way to the left side of Swamp to get the big key. Trinexx is about to do it. Like we said, this isn't representative of who's ahead or behind because of the difference in shopping that we saw.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now we're moving on to Daaanty's he headed through Restock Room, picked up arrows, which is smart. He's still a little short from the ideal arrow count that you want. I think most people say these days that you want at least 21 arrows leaving Swamp Palace. So 18's a little tight, but it's not really the end of the world.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
It's just there's other arrow pickups that you can get for towards the end of the run to satisfy the ammo requirements that we're gonna have for the route that we're running.
Alright, yeah, looks like they'll Daaanty finishing up Argus. Trinexx is gonna come up on his boss fight very shortly. attempted in this case to get the 0 cycle. It didn't actually look like he quite got the number of hooks in by at least second phase, so couldn't end up at least making it. But for second cycle, 2 fire rod shots and a spin takes Argus' phase 2 down pretty quickly.
Yeah, meanwhile, now Trinexx is moving through the end of the dungeon. Also short on arrows.
Oh no.
Oh.
Again,
I've never seen that not work.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if he just didn't slash enough times or something, but yeah, it's normally like what in this case you saw Daaanty do, and you saw Trinexx, I guess, attempt apparently to do.
Yeah, I've never seen you have to do more than
2 slashes.
I think it's 2 slashes, and then you walk like at least half a tile, and you should be good to go. I didn't see anything that he did wrong, but apparently the game had other ideas. Nice magic pixel though.
This is why we need beams for all like always in this case. Anytime you see a Bari, you just want sword beams. Like it's just a law at this point.
All right, you want to talk about the difference in how Daaanty is approaching this Death Mountain climb?
Alright, well, so we actually just saw in this case because the major difference between Daaanty and Trinexx, when Trinexx was here up the mountain, he did not have that hookshot that Daaanty is using that we just got from Swamp Palace. Daaanty is probably more than happy to be completely rid of all of the spin speeds after the Smith one that he ended up doing. And because, hook speed on stairs is basically just, well, he just pushed, it's just like an item dash with a hook shot, right? Basically just push the hook shot and dash at the same time, and you end up getting the speed, super speed. So it's certainly much easier on execution, and this is actually probably the biggest reasons why people try and delay their shopping so they can do 1 less spin speed in the game. And Daaanty also, a combination of good fortune and good movement, did not end up taking any damage, so he is actually, right on track, and hopefully in this case he'll be able to keep his sword beams and full health going into Mire. He does have a sword in this case, but this is arguably one of the most anxiety-inducing screen! Sorry. Just like because when the crab tries to bamboozle you from behind, he can take off 2 hearts of damage for, yeah.
Alright, it looks like...
Everything's fine.
We are surprisingly close now that we have synced back up.
Yeah, and in fact, actually, this doesn't actually look like too much of a difference between Daaanty and Trinexx, basically coming out of Skullwood, which actually is actually a pretty good indication of they just basically had, like a pretty, even time, basically, within Swamp Palace and doing their shopping.
Yeah, I think we're less than 10 seconds here between the two of them. So this is still anybody's race.
Yeah, right. And so I guess we're maybe back to canon at this point. We are on the 6th crystal dungeon of the game, and follow in this case by the 7th one, which is Turtle Rock. And so we are actually going to do them in order. And, again, kind of going back to the Ice Palace Cold Stair model, everything here hits even harder because, well, of course, as part of, I guess, like normal game progression, the blue mail is the prize you get from Ice Palace, and so that does have your damage, in this case from enemies, 1 fewer heart basically from most bosses. And then the game is like, well, if we gave you so much defense, we really gotta like amp up, the damage output for the rest of the game because otherwise it's gonna be too easy for you. So that's right. Those
Wizrobes that we just saw in the 2nd room of the Misery Mire do 4 hearts apiece. So not fun to accidentally run into those. Both runners did a pretty good job of clearing that room out very quickly. It's another one of those like highly technical, very fun rooms.
Oh yeah, and part of the reason why you really want to be able to keep beams for that is you actually saw how well utilized those beams are in order to clear out the room quickly.
Also, this room, the switch room right here, it lets you kill the Bari without having to like risk electrocution or it like moving away from you in a way that wastes a lot of time.
We always want
which Daaanty was able to do, and Trinexx unfortunately wasn't, but was able to clean it up without too much trouble. And then we come upstairs to the torches room, so everybody gets a break. Look at your clock. see how awfully you're doing in the run so far.
No, but I just thinking about the rest of the route that you're gonna take in this dungeon. Although I will say, like both Daaanty and Trinexx on very nice health so far. Trinexx, even though he's down a heart, not certainly going to be a big deal. If both runners are comfortable with it, they might actually end up going for a Spark Gamble, basically sacrifice a heart of damage for this upcoming Spark in order to hope to damage push yourself forward. Don't actually know if either Daaanty or Trinexx is kind of comfortable with it. Looks like Daaanty is
skipping it. I would expect Trinexx to skip it as well.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Yeah.
In a race setting, like maybe the risk reward is a little different than ordinary. Trinexx, I'm totally not surprised that he's not doing it because he's already down a heart that you ordinarily would just be throwing away there.
Right. And as it's kind of like Daaanty's also showing up here. Again, health is actually a fairly limited resource.
Speaking of there we go. He took that heart of damage anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So that spike room, of course, if done optimally, you are going to guarantee yourself losing 3 hearts of health, even though that's going to be the fastest small key. And again, as you mentioned, right, going into Vitreous, we want minimum of 5. That's I think the mathematical in order to do the fast one. 7 is going to be quote unquote comfortable, especially maybe in a race setting. The more health you have, the better off you're going to be.
That's right. Coming up though, we have a cool new like the newest glitch that has been incorporated into the No Major Glitches run, called Spooky Action. You basically saw if you were quick and noticed Daaanty shot a fire rod shot into the spike, and it actually hit a switch that was located further up the screen than you couldn't see. It was off camera. And then you do it again in the following room. I didn't get a chance to talk about it. Look on Trinexx's screen, and he's going to shoot into these anti-fairies there. Oh, doesn't get it, but gets the second shot. So he can't do the third one. You can do it again here by like shooting that torch down there, and it hits that switch that he just threw the pot into. I believe Daaanty got it.
Yeah, right, yeah, Daaanty did get it. Speaking of, though, very, very nice textbook Vitreous fights. This is kind of one of the reasons why, in this case, you want the extra health, as Trinexx is going to also start his own fight. So these normal eyeballs, by the way, also do 4 hearts of damage, like what they demonstrated here.
There we go.
My gosh!
This is fine. Everything's... No, get out of there! Okay. All right.
Wait, Trinexx has successfully dodged everything. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe... Alright, okay, so Trinexx was nice enough to demonstrate the whole gamut of damage tables in this entire room. So he was trying to damage himself from the goo, which only does 1 heart of damage. Take the iframes and then basically just spin your way to try and do damage, right, while you're invincible. Unfortunately, got nicked by one of the eyeballs, which was 4 hearts of damage, and then got hit by a lightning bolt, which does 2 hearts of damage. So thank you, Sankheart, for letting Trinexx survive.
Yeah, that's another tough fight. As befitting, like we're approaching the end of the game, like these things are gonna get harder. But excellent job not losing his mind and making it through the fight without taking a death, because a death gear is also fairly punishing on the order of several minutes, and we definitely don't want that. We like having a good close race.
Oh yeah. In fact, actually, I would actually probably, if anyone had kept stats on this, from like the NMG tournament last year, if it wasn't Vitreous, Cold Stare, was basically like the run killer, or like
it's certainly MVP, one of the two.
Yeah, again, it's MVP.
Helma's up there as well, but it's those 3 are probably the biggest boss deaths that you're gonna take in this run. But now we're moving into the last Dark World dungeon.
Alright, this is it. Even though Daaanty is getting into Turtle Rock a little bit earlier than Trinexx, I do feel like he is like the away team, facing down his arch nemesis, on Trinexx's home field advantage. So Dante's really got to bring his A game here. Super free quick warp, by the way. It's actually not free, but Daaanty at least got it.
We'll call it free. You have a 2-frame window to dash to the right and transition into up there, because as you move away from the peg, you're in super speed, right? So you're moving at 4 pixels per frame, which means as long as you're touching that leftmost peg when you hammer it, then you're aligned with the grid. And so as you move to the right, you try and stop directly underneath the warp tile, which is lined up with the quick warp that we talked about earlier. And if you happen to go one frame beyond that, you can diagonal upright back into it and still land on the other quick warp pixel. And so, in the words of Airy, it's basically free.
Somehow, oh, okay. I mean, Airy, of course, world record holder with a 123 flat. You know, he certainly seems to be very consistent at getting that quick warp. All right. So, entering inside the dungeon itself, this is actually where all of our, you know, hard work and pre-planning in order to hopefully get a fairy out of these pokies is going to pay off. You know, we actually see that because in this case, if we know or think we're going to get, in this case, a 7-heart refill, just like what Daaanty's doing right now, also on Trinexx's side, we can basically do some damage boosting, you know, take 3 hearts of damage from the spikes in order to get back through this room a little bit faster, just because, well, we know in this case it can be safe, and thank you, my gosh.
Daaanty eating a chomp, but it didn't matter because he already did the hard part.
Yep. But yeah, we're also getting a good demonstration of, well, again, things in Turtle Rock hit very hard. Chomps, in this case, are not only erratic, they also do 4 hearts of damage.
Trinexx, meanwhile, not getting his fairy yet. Gonna have to go for the backup here. Nice chomps manipulation. Gets the single block to hit both switches.
Yeah, that was really nicely done on Trinexx's side.
That's a good backup right there. Daaanty not playing around with his Poké at all.
He also did get, yeah, not only did he get an extra, he got the nice big magic drop as well, which is going to be not required, of course, but certainly going to be quite beneficial for him.
Yeah, that bottom left Poké spawn is it's not everybody's favorite. Oh no, nice bonk. Oh, we both get it, and we're both just not doing it. Okay, Trinexx getting a nice double spin there, but still just eating the anti-fairy hit.
Yeah.
It's not the slowest pattern if you can pull off the strat correctly, but it's definitely the hardest pattern that exists in that room.
Yeah, and unfortunately, also on Trinexx's side, no drop so far. You know, he hasn't, you know, I guess, like, needed the health so far, but hopefully in this case, he's gonna get a fairy drop from Pokies too, which, in this case, Daanty's already traversed, not, of course, like, the best RNG pattern that was kind of able to get through. Unfortunately, also Daaanty picking up the 8-bomb pack down as well. Not going to be pretty useful for him later on. Not going to be a big deal or anything like that, but something that basically after the big magic drop, we don't care about anything else.
Yeah, we only need one. Well, we need 2 bombs, but we only need 1 bomb at a time for the rest of the run. Mm-hmm. We don't really care anymore. Trinexx did get his magic pickup, which is good. I think he also got his fairy finally, so he's sitting pretty. Getting to do the fast
Trinexx also demonstrated
crystal roller room.
Exactly. Yeah, Beam's in there save right around half a second. In this case, you don't have to, you know, finagle around with the Kana Samaria for the blocks or anything like that. So
risk certain death by crystal roller. Daaanty with a nice laser skip there. Just getting right through, dashing through the beetle, sending it off to the depths. I don't know what's happening.
Everything's fine. This is why we picked up the big magic, you know, and again, right, like, again, not requisite, especially in this case, you know, if all the blocks hit in the right places, but especially in this case, the full magic bar basically ensures that you can just smoothly sail the Swish room. Alright, okay, here we go. Daaanty taking on revenge for Trinexx Part 2. 1 neck down. Alright, he's already passed, I think, the previous run that he had. And yes, oh my gosh, Daaanty. Alright, two necks down.
Oh, you got watch out.
Okay, he is safe enough. He just has to make sure he doesn't take a hit from the head. This at least certainly is going to be the least dangerous part of the fights.
There we go.
Alright. Revenge is a dish best served, well, in this case, cold. Yeah, with the ice rod and the fire rod. And Daaanty is going to be on his way to GT. Trinexx, though, you know, facing down, I guess this is what Ocarina of Time now. It's like it's like Trinexx and Dark Trinexx. facing down, like your inner self, right? Gotta conquer your demons.
It's a nice one cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there were 3 Trinexxes on the screen at one point. I was very confused.
Yeah. Which one do you think lived? Do you think it's the good one? Do you think like the evil twins or evil clones are gone now?
I don't know. That's how evil twins work, right?
Yeah. Oh, but we don't know, right? At the very end.
I guess we'll
find
find
out.
out.
Trinexxes have belly buttons or anything. Or
We'll ask them. We'll ask them when they finish the race. But of course, they'll all say they're the good Trinexx. So who knows?
If only there was some way to tell at the very beginning. Okay. Worthwhile menu over there too, the hook shot, so we can actually then do hook speed and basically run out of that screen that we never have to go see again, and Daaanty is going to go and find the big key.
Any
Not
takers?
showing. Yeah. Oh no.
We all know the answer to this. It's technically 3.
I guess I'm gonna be curious to see what right. So, of course, in rando, typically, right, you try and figure out, which chest there is the big key in. NMG, somewhat more discretion as to where which of the 3 GT small keys runners pick up. Kind of curious to see in this case what both Trinexx and Daaanty are to go for. Oh, okay. All right, looks like though Daaanty is at least going to skip out of the torch key. It is certainly by far the safest one because all you gotta do is just bonk the torch and get the key. So 0 danger there, but it is arguably also like the slowest of the 3 options because it costs him something like an extra second.
Yeah, moving through the early parts of the dungeon. Nice peg puzzles with the boomerang. And the hook shot to get through it. Moving into the fire snake room. There's some cool stuff you can do in here, because all of these walls are just blocks that you can hookshot through, and you can do some really tricky stuff. You can actually beat that fire snake if you get slightly better RNG, but it's really not worth trying to mess with in a race. So just get through the room, preferably without taking damage.
Yeah, right, and kind of also, as you mentioned, right, so part of course, doing a speed run and especially RTA attempts, PB grinds, those are kind of the opportunities for you to, break out, kind of retire maybe some of your older bad habits and try and forge some new ones. In a race setting, you're definitely, especially, in GT, you're really going to go and just try and do what you're comfortable with. Oh, is he? Okay, all right, Daaanty only got hit by 1 hit by the anti-fairy, so his magic isn't going to be too bad. Looks like he really wanted those arrows, though. He's gonna have to pick up a pot in the Mimic's room upstairs to make sure that he has a full bar starting his climb. But that's probably the only real danger here. The extra heart probably not gonna do too much.
Yeah, Trinexx also picking up this early chest instead of waiting for the second one. Daaanty getting both, though.
Yeah. Normally it's kind of gonna be one or the other. Typically speaking, just because you want, you certainly want a requisite of 8 arrows for Mimics 1 and 2, because there's 4 Mimics total, each needing 2 arrows apiece. That's probably all you need, maybe a couple of extra ones. But in this case, so Daaanty wanted a little bit more for his quiver.
Daaanty not forgetting his magic drop, that's also very important.
Yes, very important. Oh no.
Oh no, the spike taking... Oh, that was really good. I didn't even think that the arrow was going to go to the left, but he managed to get it.
Alright, so Daaanty is just using... I mean, he's like, I have all these extra arrows, I'm going to use it.
Just picks up the 10 drop too.
Alright, looks like the Trinexx also maybe spinning, giving the spike an extra arrow, but he also got a 5-pack drop. So everything should be fine. 7 arrows.
We're far beyond required arrows at this point. Everything else is just extra.
Alright, nice read on the cannonball RNG there on Daaanty's side and be able to get through GBZ very well. And Dante's kind of showing this case, why it's really good. I did have just a couple of extra arrows, even more for the road. Maybe we'll find silvers up here. You think?
I don't know. Maybe. There's 4 more chests we can open.
Yeah, exactly.
Open 1 or 2.
All right, yeah, and right. As also Trinexx is showing, you know, a couple of extra projectiles, especially take down Stalfos. You know, maybe peg a Zyzak. You know, slow him down a little bit. All of these things are going to be able to help. You know, getting through the gauntlet rooms.
Pretty nice G5 there. Trinexx's G2, not too bad. G3, very nice. Daaanty having a very good one cycle on the Landmo 2 fight.
It is surprisingly difficult, by the way, in order to get a one cycle there. You know, like the shooter's in the way, you do have to have a reasonable setup, and of course Landmo still have to do, you know, gonna be a little bit lower. Yeah, just like what Trinexx is demonstrating, it's very easy in order to miss that first cycle.
Yeah, it's still, like, in spite of all of the, like, offensive capabilities you have now at the end of the game, it's still a pretty tight fight, and it's easy to get off track.
Yeah, right, and you know, another part of the reason why magic management in upper GT is so important is, you know, so we can actually only spare a limited number of fire shots. And so kind of what Daaanty is, you know, demonstrating in here, Torches 1, is we have just enough magic, basically, to be able to light the 4 torches, get the big magic refill, and then not have to worry about the second one.
Yeah, Daaanty's picking up the heart because, you know... Oh no! Oh no!
Oh my gosh. I didn't even hear it. Oh no. Okay, so I think Trinexx got his revenge in GT. What happened in this case on Daanty's side was that because he in this case slightly delayed by getting that extra heart, he kind of and then he ended up going upstairs at the same time the door like would have closed. Earlier from Torches 1. When that happens, it is a frame-perfect situation where everything on the top of GTD spawns. While that's great, in this case you don't have to deal with any obstacles, the unfortunate part is that everything that's included is also Aghanim 2, so there's no way in this case to finish the dungeon, which then the only way to... Well,
oh no, Daaanty, please! Yeah,
the only way to kind of finish up the dungeon is you have to mirror out and reset everything. Oh, I'm so sorry, Daaanty.
You hate to see it.
It is.
That's not actually the first one that we've had this tournament, so...
Oh, really?
Yeah, we had one last week as well.
I'm sorry. I don't think I ended up seeing that one, but I'm really sorry for the person that had that.
Oh no, Daaanty!
No, Daaanty just got sucked into this door. Very good on him though to basically keep his health. Go stop by the safety room. Sometimes you do see, especially in rando, people stopping here to make sure.
We had so many extra bombs. We may as well.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not useful for anything else.
Oh my gosh.
But meanwhile, Trinexx is going through the Aga 2 fight. Definitely one of the more difficult fights in the game. Some may say it's the hardest, but unless you're talking about like trying to get like a 123 or a 122, I disagree.
Well, Trinexx
it's not easy, but it's not stupid hard until you're trying to go fast. And I mean, like, exceptionally fast.
Yeah, certainly...
Like you can 3 and 4 cycle that without too much trouble. But consistently 2 cycling that fight is one of the harder things that you can do in this game.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not even possible to 2-cycle, right? Just because
you saw because of the blue ball RNG.
Right, exactly. Yeah, blue balls are not, you know, exclusive to Aghanim 1. You know, just because Aga splits into 3, so it doesn't mean that, you know, he just forgot how to cast blue balls. By the way, the reclimb though that Daaanty has done has actually been quite speedy. Like already he is up here to Wizrobes 1. So after his you know embattled fight with Aga 2, Trinexx is on to Ganon. I don't know if he's watching or not, but yes, he still does have to be careful. The Trident in this case, you know, does do 4 hearts of damage. The Bats do 2 hearts of damage. He is definitely an Oko. He can't touch Ganon whatsoever. Unfortunately, didn't get the 1-1 for the first phase, and so now he's gonna have to sit through the second phase.
Not entirely sure he got the. Yeah, he didn't even get the second one.
Yeah, it didn't actually look like 2.
But I mean, that's when Ganon's in one of those like middle 2 positions after missing the 1 cycle phase 1. That's really difficult, and it's almost not worth going for.
Yeah,
in a race setting.
Yeah, especially right. If Trinexx is watching, I think he's probably aware that he does have a pretty
he just needs to
substantial
get through
lead.
this fight without dying.
Yeah, so yeah, it looks like I don't know if he normally goes for torch glitch with the fire rod, but at this point, if it's much easier.
Not even gonna bother.
Exactly. It's tons easier just to spam your lamp.
Almost forgets.
Yeah. I think he maybe just wants
he might have just been moving the bat out of the way.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I was thinking too.
Alright, so like 9 more spins and...
Aw, Daaanty. He's trying in order to save a little bit of extra time.
I mean, you have to. You have to.
Yeah. No, for sure. Nothing but air on Daaanty's side. Nice job.
There we go. Perfect. Are we back on? We're back on the cycle for Trinexx's spins.
Yeah. Right, of course, right. The torch glitch, of course, is so long as you light the left torch before the right one goes out in phase 4, it's always going to stay lit on the right torch. And so that'll basically give you enough time to get in your triples. But with that, 12 spins later, get your GGs out in chat for Trinexx. It's going to finish up first place in this race between himself and Daaanty. With an official time of 1 hour, 28 minutes, and 35 seconds.
Yeah, very nice run. Daaanty finishing up his Aga 2 fight.
Yeah, it looks like actually he, whether he had better patterns, Daaanty was able to, basically really effectively deal with Aga 2.
So just one more gain fight, and we will get a chance to have a chat with our runners. But we kind of didn't really talk about this fight the first go around, but it's a 4-phase fight, and we're trying to get I don't know, we're both gonna miss them. We're gonna get really close to. Oh, Daanty's not getting a cooperative Ganon pattern either. I think he's gonna go for it because why not? But it's 12 tempered hits for the first phase, 12 tempered hits for the second phase. Spin attacks obviously count as 2. So there's a setup that you go for at the beginning where you end up with 7 hits, and then you have 5 more hits to finish it up before he's able to start another cycle of the first phase and transitions into the second. Unfortunately, we didn't get that. But now that we've gone through the first 2 phases without too much difficulty, Ganon moves into phase 3 where there's a 50-50 chance that he will stop and let us damage him, and then he'll stomp the floor and cause the tiles to fall down around the perimeter, or he'll just, warp. And in theory, he can just sit there and warp forever. So this is definitely even making it to this point in a speedrun on a good pace, there's no guarantees. You can just lose 20-30 seconds in this fight through absolutely no fault of your own.
Yeah, and people, I guess, Aghanim's blue balls for the light world certainly has the highest reputation, but Ganon warps are also just one of those things where, well, hope in this case the RNG is on your side.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Everybody likes the execution parts of the speedrun and are not as big a fan of the RNG part of the speedrun. And I feel like the Ganon fight doesn't get as much hate just because it's a lot less prevalent in people's minds. You don't see as many Ganon fights as you do Aghanim fights.
Yeah, especially because in order to get to Ganon, for one, you have to kind of play the rest of the game, right? And
right.
You get through Light World much more. Oh my gosh, Daaanty! Maybe that was intended. Oh my
Nice.
gosh. GG's Daaanty, finishing up 131.43. Oh. Alright, well, Daaanty, I really hope week 3 goes much better for you to be able to take revenge on Trinexx.
Speaking of Trinexx,
hello.
here in the booth now, we have the winner of the race, Welcome, Trinexx. GG's.
I get pulled in. I'm already asking about revenge. That's sort of aggressive, but
GG's Trinexx. Congratulations.
thank you very
on your
much.
win.
It's unfortunate. I was reading in chat what actually happened, which was kind of a crappy way to win, but it is.
And we are also joined by Daaanty. GG's, Daaanty.
Hello, Daaanty. GG's.
GG's, Daaanty.
Yeah, what a race. GG's, Trinexx.
Yeah, that was quite a race. I mean, I think you guys were within probably. I think the furthest gap that you guys had before the jingle glitch was probably no more than about 15 seconds.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
it was super close.
Yeah, I had no gauge as to how close it was. So
yeah, it was a very enjoyable race the whole way through.
good. I guess
it's unfortunate that things like that happen, right? I said that's not the first jingle glitch we've had this tournament, so
man.
So my thought process was don't jingle glitch, like literally, because I was like, I'm getting that heart, and I thought, okay, you did this room fine, you'll be fine, you could just walk right up, and like I think it was maybe a frame before I actually initiated the transition, I was like, you did the last room slow. And then I knew I was screwed. Like, as soon as I touched the stairs, I was like, well. So I only have myself to blame. I knew I think it was a byproduct of, I had the chat up, I had the restream up, and I knew how close it was. So I was trying to literally squeeze as much as I could. And that was just me putting too much pressure on myself. Yeah,
I had also grabbed the heart in that room, but I was waiting on the lower wall, waiting for that jingle first, just so that it didn't happen. So
I went full Giga Chad and was like, "Don't worry, we got this," and it just did not pan out. So
that's
first time I've ever done that in GT. I've done it in Ice Palace, but that's first time for everything, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
And we were able to capture it on restream. Aren't you happy?
I'm actually thrilled. Like, I can't wait to watch this one back. I had such a good time watching the last one back because I know the last one was close until Trinexx got in the way, and then here we are playing Trinexx in round 2. But yeah, I knew this race would be really, really tough. Trinexx is really good at the game. I know he's got a lot more reps in NMG than I do. His consistency is a lot better. So I felt like I was, I had a huge uphill battle, and I was like, let's just play against our timer and see what happens. And I think after, Meyer was I clawed it back to within 10 seconds of my PB. So overall, I'm happy with how I played. Not happy I made some dumb mistakes, but, everyone wants the perfect run in vanilla, but can't always have it that way.
Yeah, for sure. You had a pretty solid Vidi fight. Trinexx had a slightly hairier one, I think.
Yeah, I had a spin that didn't go off, and then just everything went sort of haywire, and I was standing in the lightning with iframes. I think it was.
Took a lightning. You intentionally took an extra dip in the drink to avoid an eyeball, which was really awesome, and then just took a lightning bolt to the face. But
you
managed
showed
to get
us
through it without any problems.
Yeah, you showed us the entire damage table of Vitreous in that room.
Yeah, unfortunately, I lost count of what the errors should have been because I definitely hit the big eye with the spin once, and I just wasn't sure where it was at. So
yeah,
had him charging at me at the last second, not sure what to do in that brief moment. But I survived. So
yeah, you not only survived, you prevailed. So.
But yeah, my dark roll, it wasn't great overall, but I was gaining time, losing time. It basically was just blue balls kind of going consistently until Ganon's Tower, which I had kind of a crappy climb, but yeah, it's I happened to see what ended up happening after I finished my Agra 2 fight, which was pretty bad, and so I was sort of not in the right mindset. I was doing pretty poorly on the first part of Ganon, just on the wrong side of the room and all that stuff there, but
yeah,
managed to get through it with 2 hearts, so
enough. Those Ganon fights they're rough. There's so much that's going on. You just have to. You're trying to stay on script, and sometimes that's not possible. And then you have to make concessions to that, and fall back on stuff that you may or may not be super familiar with. You might miss Torch Glitch and have to deal with that. It's not a free fight by any means. So, especially not at the end of an hour and 20 odd minutes of also not the easiest speedrun.
Yeah, you were also on 2 hearts, right? Going into phase 2 or something. I don't remember quite when you got hit, but
Yeah, I think it was phase 1, and then I missed the 1-on-1, so I took a trident to the face, and then.
Yeah, I would say that overall you two played, very, very well. I mean, and yes, I'm really sorry about the jingle glitch, Daaanty. But you guys were just super close like the entire race. Really nice moth fights, basically. By the way, like it was not quite like the whatever, like 9 out of 10 or whatever. But I mean, like those spikes barely moved, so it was just really speedy.
From what Relkin tells me, there were 2 spikes I think that were gone, or 3. So that's like an 8 or a 7 out of 10. I don't know how the grading scale works per se.
Yeah, yours were 2. Yours was 2. His was 3. They were both pretty good.
I just make it up as I go and say that was pretty good because it's better than what I'm usually doing. So
is it better than PB? Yes. Okay. Then this whole split was fine.
Yes.
I guess I'm just curious, Daaanty. Like at the end, like were you really conscious about arrows? Because you picked up the one right before Ice Armos, you picked up the one after Ice Armos, you picked up all the drops as we're going.
I knew deep down I was gonna screw it up. No, when I got the second one, I did not have the brain capacity to math, and I was like, just get them because if you don't, you're gonna probably hate yourself. And then walking back to get a couple drops, I literally was just screaming at myself like out loud and was mad. I was like, "What are you doing?" We'll keep it friendly here in the interview though. We won't go into what I was screaming, but yeah, I don't know. It was just I guess a little bit of nerves, because I knew I was on good pace and I knew next week I just ain't gonna watch. I'm just gonna pop out chat and then just meme with you guys and play the game and whatever happens.
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask. So I know that you might have been a little bit apprehensive about maybe watching either the restream or watching Trinexx's play. In this case, everything okay? No real nerves, I guess, that were caused from watching your opponent.
No, not really. It was just the climb. I don't know. My end game has been. I said this last week, a huge glass cannon. Some days it is very on, but the moment one piece just kind of derails, I have the hardest time keeping it together. Kind of as shown today, the second climb was an absolute nightmare, but the wind obviously getting taken out of your cells with the jingle glitch. But yeah, I mean, overall, I just, same as last week, I can't complain. One mistake, you're in a really high-skilled tournament like this. I kind of feel like I don't even belong here, I feel kind of still baby new guy to NMG stuff. So like I said, just happy to be here and getting some competitive experience.
Well, you do only have 1 neck. Maybe with a little bit more experience, you can grow a couple more. But you
maybe.
know.
Well, it's 3 times the way to doubt yourself all the way through the run. So.
I'm hoping next week I get to Ganon before I die or something, and then week 4 I'll have 1 decent run. Win or lose, I'll just have 1 decent run. That's the plan now.
Well, so far I'm 2 for 2 on taking an intentional death in the Hera big key chest. I get bodied by mold worms in every single room. It was great. So I'm hoping game 3 will continue that streak.
I mean, there are worse things, I guess.
Yeah, and I think quite the nice part about, I guess, League is that it's only 4 weeks, right? You basically race, probably, either good competition or a good friend or both, right? Just basically something that, kind of is don't have to necessarily take it too seriously, but basically just, just race and have fun.
Yeah, for sure. And me and Trinexx have done some pickup, NMG, obviously not racing, just kind of doing runs together. So I was kind of, in a way, I was glad we got paired together. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we get. I don't think anyone in the tournament in Light World is named Jingle or anything. So we'll see who I get paired with next week.
Yeah, and and the good news, of course, is that you're not the last race of the Light World division, right? So it's you have to, this race don't even have to end yet, and you have to basically wait a little bit to find out your next opponent.
Yeah.
Speaking of, do we have? I think there's only like a couple more. My race is tomorrow against Rob, and then it looks like I guess Spleebies is Saturday or something like that, and Chimo and Vex.
Yeah, it looks like Spleebies is Sunday 4 p.m. So that's probably going to be the last one.
That'll
Light
probably
World
be the
Division.
last one.
Yeah, and then I think Dark World, one more race is happening tomorrow, so that might end that division. But I mean, again, it's just a week. It's just a bit, scheduled for fun. All things look good.
Super serious. Super
Mhm.
serious.
Yeah.
All the time. Just go. No, I've been really enjoying this. Just as a player for a second, I've really been enjoying this tournament. It's a great format. It's been a lot of fun just hanging out with people and playing. Who knows? Rob offhandedly made a comment at the end of my race last week. He's like, maybe we'll play, and now we are. So maybe I'll play one of you two, because I don't know which side of the bottom of the bracket I'll be on.
Yo, should be a good time. Oh, Trinexx, GG's again, man, and looking forward to seeing you in week 3. And thank you guys, Urok and Clear Mouse, for doing the commentary today. Do appreciate it.
Was a ton of fun. Thank you so
Yeah,
much
and
for racing, guys.
GG's again, Danny, and thank you for the commentary and the restream.
Yeah, GG's, guys.
Thanks a
I
lot.
guess with that, we'll let our restreamer take us out.
All right. Let's see. Tomorrow we've got 6 a.m. Eastern, if anyone's interested. Majora's Mask Randomizer Season 3 Tournament Qualifier number 9. And then we have OOT Bingo at 6 p.m. Eastern and Z2R at 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, as of right now. They did mention some NMG matches coming up this weekend. We also have some cross keys matches coming up. Those will show up on the schedule depending on volunteer availability. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and again, thank you to our commentators, Urok and Clear Mouse. And make sure to give our runners a follow.
Yeah, thank you so much, Urok. This was a ton of fun to do. Definitely, this was not only yours of the great race. Thank you so much again, Daaanty and Trinexx. But yeah, this was just a ton of fun. Basically talking. And thank you so much, DXR,
likewise.
for restreaming.
Yeah. And we will see you all next time.